Hey guys, Phil here at Woods Tree Farm, and today I wanted to share with you a little bit of the progress here with our Christmas trees, because I was just reminded through my Facebook memory 1 year ago, just the other day, we were planting pumpkins. And when I put up that video, I let Hudson go ahead and do the intro to that video, and we put the GoPro on his head and he walked across this section of the tree field as he went over to where we planted the pumpkins last year. By the way, we're not doing pumpkins again this year because it was a miserable failure last year. But anyway, as he was walking through this section of trees, I couldn't help but notice how small and straggly the trees looked. So I thought it would be interesting to pull up some of that old video footage and compare it to how the trees are doing here this year right now, and you can see the progress and how much growth these trees get in a single year. So with that in mind, I'm going to walk you through our Norway spruces here. These are the trees that have done the best for us so far. To catch you up if you're not aware, it was, hold on a second, look at this guy. What is he? He has a snake. Pretty cool looking hawk that had a little snake in his mouth. I love seeing the wildlife out here on the farm. I don't know what kind of hawk that was, and I don't know how well it'll come in on the video, but that hawk just shot across the field, went down, picked up that little tiny snake, whatever it was, and then hauled off that way with it. So that's pretty cool to see. We really don't see that many snakes out here, and I think that's part of the reason why. We've got plenty of predators around that are going to feed on those snakes. So what was I talking about? The trees, right? Let's go through the tree field and look at these Norway spruces, and I'll show you some of the footage from where we were at last year. So the first several rows here were the first trees that we put in the ground in the spring of 2019, and these first several rows are all Norway spruces. When we got these trees, they were 2-2 transplants, and for the most part they were about 14 to 18 inches tall. Some of them a little smaller, some of them a little taller, but you can go through here and you can actually tell they're kind of starting to look like Christmas trees, right? You know, when you get the little seedlings and they look so straggly, they don't really look like Christmas trees yet, but they've started to branch out, and their growth last year was good. Their growth this year so far is good. I brought a tape measure with me, and we'll take a quick look at a few of these trees up close. And if you're curious about our irrigation setup, there's our 300-foot piece of PVC lay flat hose. This is one of two that I have. Right now I've got one here in the middle of the field. It reaches all the way to the pond down there, and I've got another one at the end of the row, so then I can just hook up my sprinklers and hoses to the end of either one of these pieces of lay flat. We just came off of 4 days straight of rain, so hopefully we're going to be in good shape here for rain for a little bit, and there's still chances of storms in the upcoming days, so there might be some additional precipitation coming down and we won't have to water. Yay! I was just getting ready to show you guys one of these trees, and then I noticed we got our first bagworm. Look at that. And I looked closely at a couple other spruces and noticed a couple other bagworms. So I'll be coming along, picking those off. So this is kind of a good example of one of our spruces. You know, some are a little taller, some are a little shorter. This particular one looks like it might have a little bit of frost damage on the tip here. Might have to come along and snip that off, but we'll wait and see what it does. But anyway, if we want to compare to where this was a year ago, right now it's sitting at about 26 inches tall. Definitely wasn't that tall when we got it in. Like I said, most everything that we got last year was between 14 and 18. So I don't know exactly where this tree had started last year, but at a minimum this grew, you know, 6 or 8 inches last year, and that is pretty typical of what we saw among these spruces in the first year. They also branched out quite a bit. So last year they looked very stringy. They didn't have much in terms of branches, and now they look like little trees. So the first year of development looked really positive. I'm going to take you over and show you a couple of the trees, the same species, Norway spruces, that we planted in the fall, and you can see what they look like now this spring. There's not nearly as much development on them as these trees had with having a whole year in the ground. All right, here is an example of a Norway spruce that we put in the ground in the fall. This was actually a different tree altogether. It wasn't a bare root transplant, it had the nursery plug. So this was a slightly smaller seedling than those other ones were from the start. And this one right now is only about 13 inches tall. So when we got this in the fall, it really wasn't much smaller than this. Only these top couple shoots here and these shoots on the end of the branches are the new growth. It really hasn't grown much vertically yet. Hopefully, you know, through this year and by this time next year, this tree will be upwards of this tall. Well, it was right through this section last year where Hudson was coming through with a GoPro on his head. So it'd be pretty cool to do a little split screen of what that footage last year looked like versus this year. Alright, so that's all I can really show you in terms of progress in the year's growth. We had so many trees lost from our concolor firs and Canadian firs, so I can't really show you much in terms of what they've done year over year. Plus we ordered way more nursery plugs in the fall and in the spring this year, and it was all bare root stuff that we did in the spring of last year. So again, kind of comparing apples and oranges, and I just don't have that many trees that survived a whole year. So I'll keep you guys posted. I could show you some Scotch pines too, but their sizing is kind of all over the map. The ones that we've had that made it a year, they look good. They're starting to branch out kind of the same way, but again, I didn't plant any new ones this year yet to show you the difference. So not really anything to show you, but you can kind of look out across the field. The grass is a little tall, so you kind of just see like, looks like big weeds, but there's trees out there. And we haven't had crazy drought, or during the dry spells that we've had so far this year, we've been able to water. So not a lot of brown trees. I'm real happy about that, because this time last year, we were already starting to see a whole bunch of brown trees that weren't gonna make it. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, hit that thumbs up button. I appreciate that. That helps our videos get discovered by other people who like similar videos. And if you like our channel and you want to keep up with what we're doing out here on our 43-acre farm here in Central Virginia, go ahead and hit that red subscribe button as well. And if you hit the bell icon next to it, you can get notified of all of our future videos. That's all for today, guys. Thanks for following along. If you got questions, obviously leave those in comments, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.